everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, I'm Kate and I bring you a book review every Friday. Today we're going to be talking about the fabulous The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turnton. It's also known as The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle in the US, for any US viewers out there. This book I have found so hard to do a review on. So hard, because I realised I recorded this whole thing, was editing it, and then realised there was a massive spoiler in there like the whole way through. So I've tried again a few times, and I think hopefully this will be a spoiler-free attempt. So I'm going to start off by reading you the back of the book, because it gives you a really good oversight, better than anything that I could come up with. At a party thrown by her parents, Evelyn Hardcastle is killed again. She's been murdered hundreds of times, and each day Aidan Bishop is too late to save her. The only way to break the cycle is to identify Evelyn's killer. But every time the day begins again, Aidan wakes up in the body of a different guest. And someone is desperate to stop him ever escaping Blackheath. So, Blackheath is the country manor, country house of this upper class wealthy family, the Hardcastle family, and Blackheath has kind of been left to fall into disrepair because of something that happened there a couple of decades ago that has meant that the family haven't really ever wanted to go back there very much. So the house is crumbling, the grounds aren't really that maintained, and that all plays into the story as well. So I look at Blackheath, the house, as being a character in itself, and there's a lot more going on there. There's a lot more at play in Blackheath than I think Aidan ever realises, especially to begin with. So when we first meet Aidan and we wake up with him in his first host, so each of the guests that he wakes up in, he refers to them as hosts, so I'll refer to them as hosts as well. And each of his hosts is slightly different, so they bring their own different things to play. So they've all got their own strengths, their own weaknesses, their own agenda, their own secrets, their own lies, their own things that are going on within the house. As human beings, we do have. So each of them has something to offer Aidan in a different way, but then some of them are slightly more helpful than others, let's say that, while Aidan's running around trying to find out who actually killed Evelyn. Some of these hosts are more helpful in that respect than others. So some of them are more intelligent, quicker, sharper, and will pick up on like the little minute details that some of the others won't. Some of them are more physically able than others, more quick-tempered than the others. Some of them are a bit more obsessed with class than the others. So there's all that kind of going on, and we're never given a specific time frame of when this book is set and when it's all happening. I personally think it's in kind of the Regency era, so the late 1800s to the early 1900s, sometime around then, because there's carriages, but there's also motor cars as well in it. So my guess is probably the very early 1900s. Possibly at a stretch I would say it's 1920s, but I think it's probably 1900s, 1910s. Something about that. It's kind of late 1900s, early 1910s. Going on within Blackheath, there's more at stake and more at play. Everyone within that house has their own agenda, has their own thing going on, just like all of Aidan's house. And as he's going around trying to solve the mystery and the murder of who killed Evelyn, he sees more and more of the secrets and the lies and the histories and the things that have stayed hidden and buried since the last time that there was a large gathering at Blackheath, which, as I said, was quite a long time ago. There's so many twists and turns to this, and it's a real kind of race against time for Aidan to solve the murder, put all the puzzle pieces into place, desperate to stop him leaving and keep him trapped in this loop, waking up day after day, trying to do the same thing, living the same day over and over and over, just through various different hosts' eyes, but it's a loop. So eventually, once he's gone through all his heists, he'll wake up again in his first heist and live the day over and over and over. A race against time. So it's almost like a mouse kind of book in that sense, while it's also a murder mystery, and it's a kind of, it's almost like a fantasy style book as well, because it's not a real life thing in that people often get trapped in loops. So there's so many different genres that this book could fit into, and there's so many different things at play, and poor Aidan has to try and navigate these via his various different heists. And as I said, they each have their own thing going on. Some of them are really helpful in this respect, some of them help them put the puzzle pieces into place a lot quicker, whereas others of them make the puzzle pieces that were fitting seem like they don't anymore. I watched the way through, and I thought I was seriously going down the right path of who was maybe not Evelyn's killer, but who was the puppet master that was pulling all the strings. I thought, like, yes, this is the person. I really think, I've got this right. I really think, this is the right path to be going down. A couple of pages later, it turned out it was completely the wrong path. And that is just, I think, the beauty of this book, is there are so many twists and turns in it. And it takes Aidan, he is part of these twists and turns. He has to navigate all these different heists and stuff. There's just so many different twists and turns, and we're going along with it with Aidan. And just like Aidan, we think we're possibly going down the right path when we're not at all. And this was such a hard book to do a review on, to try and do it without spoilers. I think I've managed it. I just absolutely loved this book. I burned through it so quickly. The characters in the story, they're all really well developed. They've all got their own backstory. You definitely get a sense of all of them. And this story is so well written. It just keeps you wanting to know what happens next, I really tried to kind of take my time with this book and pace myself with it, because it got recommended to me by someone on Twitter, and they said that they had read it really quickly. They said they couldn't put it down, and within a few pages I knew that I wasn't going to be able to put it down, and I really wanted to try and linger on it and make it last as long as possible, because I was enjoying it so much that I didn't want it to end. I didn't want to know who killed Evelyn. I wanted to keep guessing. Now I know, I'm still a little bit disappointed that I know. I feel a bit bereft now these characters aren't in my life anymore. Like, I miss Aidan and all the other characters in Blackheath. As much as it's a very kind of toxic atmosphere in Blackheath, and everyone is a little bit fucked up. Let's just say that. Everyone in Blackheath is a little bit fucked up. And they're all very toxic, and there's all a lot going on. And as I say, there was this one big thing that happened a couple of decades ago that has kept its secrets and its lies and all the different things that come along with that manifested in it for 20 odd years. A couple of decades have been, these secrets and these lies have stayed hidden within this crumbling country manor and these overgrown grounds that go with it. There's so much at play in this book, and there's so many different twists and turns to it that you're never going to guess it. And I just loved it so much. I cannot recommend it enough. I know BookTube was going crazy for this a couple of years ago, and it took me a week to read it, even though I was physically purposefully trying to kind of slow myself down with reading it. I just couldn't put it down. It was so good. You're never going to guess the ending. So good. There's not too many books like this, and it's so many different genres wrapped into one, which I think is really interesting. I think Stuart Turnton does such a good job in telling the story that he wants to tell, and he does such a good job in keeping you guessing with it. And I genuinely do think that you will get to the end, and when you find out who Evelyn's killer is, you will be absolutely shocked. I know I was. I definitely didn't see that coming of this book. Of all the characters it could have been, of all the people in play, of all the secrets and lies and blackmail and agendas and nice people and bad people and secrets and lies and the history that's been hidden in this place for 20 odd years, and when it comes to finally discovering who the murderer is, absolutely blew my mind. It was just, I did not see it coming at it. It's just brilliant. I cannot recommend it enough. So please do let me know if you've read it, if you read it, if you've enjoyed it, if you think I've got Good, and I will see you next Friday for another review.